All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to Concordia University's Force Space. Thanks for joining us for the next part of today's event. We had a panel discussion earlier this morning, but this is part of Crafting Commons, Material, Making, and Meditate. We're just going into the next part this afternoon, so I'll just really briefly introduce. There's a kind of an exhibition that's popped up, let's say, for today, and we are going to do a tour walking around the space and visiting with the artists that are here with us to see what's happening. Just kind of stick with us if you're watching live on Zoom. We're also recording it here. And if you have any comments or questions, both here in the space or online, you can raise your hands and we'll bring a microphone over to you, but you should just sit back and watch. Okay, enough from me. It's very much my pleasure now to pass the microphone over to the artist and curator, collaborator on the exhibition today, Aliénor Dufetel, over to you.
Hi, so we have a little showcase for you today. It's going to be all circular around the panel and the round table. So we'll be starting with maybe Béatrice and Tricia's work. Could you tell us a little bit about your amazing multidisciplinary works?
Yes, oh. Thank you. So hi, my name is Béatrice Dubreuil, and I'm presenting a work that I did in collaboration with Tricia Crivellaro. She is a teacher at Toronto Metropolitan University in fashion, and also a researcher and teacher. And I am a graphic designer and artist working with a lot of different materials. And here I'm presenting work made with wool and with blind weeds. And here is the photosynthetic jacket. So this was made in 2023 in like a small short art residency in the Sentier Urbain in Montreal. So in that space, just before the residency, they removed the weeds from the garden, and we thought, why not, before they were put to compost, why not use them for a piece? So this was a jacket made to be ephemeral, so we made some panels woven on a wooden frame, and with cotton warp, and only the weeds as a structural material. So that's basically it. So I wore it for pictures and like the video shows a bit of the progress here. And yeah, it was very like experimental and a nice way to work with materials that were available on like close to us in our environment. Yeah. And the next project we did in collaboration is like very much a prototype and a work in progress. And this was made with wool that was sheared from a sheep that is from the Biquette organism in Montreal. So they are here to do some eco-grazing in the Parc Maisonneuve. And every spring we shear the sheep, and the wool is is given or sold to the public or the volunteers of the organism, which I am part of. And so yeah, the wool was the raw wool was taken. I washed it, I spun it, carded it, spun it, and in this case we made a piece with felt, and it was made with panels. There was no specific plans in the beginning, so we just made panels, and then Tricia and me like made a structure with it to make some sort of bag, and it was soon with the same wool that I spun, and then so the idea behind it is to make it like not as ephemeral as the jacket, but maybe to use it as a start of a project, and maybe have it change with time, maybe wear it and see, oh, this doesn't work, maybe we'll cut this part, it's not practical, or just like mend it if it gets wear over time. And yeah, so this is like the first part of the project. And yeah, the link between the two projects, I think, is like the idea of using materials that we have on hand, that is close to us, that is local, and that is unharmful to the environment, I guess. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Next, we'll head to Rachel, if you want to give us some insights on the project with the students.
Thank you. My name is Rachel McHenry. I'm an assistant professor in fashion at Toronto Metropolitan University. And the project we're sharing here today is a long-term research project that's been carried out by my students in the program through the natural dye course that we run. And you can see here, we are building color spectrums using the different dye plants. And as time goes on, we're going to have the full spectrum of color starting at one side and moving all the way through the full rainbow so that we can share this as a research result. And I think it's really interesting to see the variation that you get with natural dyes based around the different kinds of materials that are being dyed, whether they're cellulosic or protein-based, you get different kinds of color results. And then there's a lot of variety that can happen with playing with the different variables of dyeing, as well as working with over-dyeing. And some of the plants that are in this series are plants that we grow at the Urban Farm Natural Dye Garden. And so we're also recording the experience of the garden that the students have. Some of the plants like chamomile and marigold and hollyhocks, these all come from the rooftop farm. So the students would have gathered those plants and extracted the color and tested them out on different fibers.
Nice. And what are different fabrics you used principally for this project? I see this silk, is it?
Yeah, we have a whole range of different materials. We test things out oftentimes using cheesecloth because it's very inexpensive and easy to work with. But we have a full range of materials, including hemp cotton and very lightweight cotton voile. We have linen. There's different kinds of silk velvet, linen threads, and wool fabric. And of course, the wool fabric, you oftentimes get these really strong, beautiful colors with the wools. And then we're also dyeing on different sorts of threads. And we make an effort to find yarns that are made from Canadian wool. But we also bring in other kinds of found materials like paper yarns. This is shredded up t-shirts, feathers. This is sheepskin. We tested out a series on that. And we have other types of silk and cotton and linen yarns as well.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. Ioana, welcome. Tell us about the project and your art residency, where this was made.
Yeah, so this was a project in collaboration with the Museum of Textile and Stories in Mândra, Romania. And I work with hemp. This hemp was hand-spun by people local to the area. And I've integrated grasses with seeds. And when it was installed, it was like a seed disperser that was going along this river, which was at the source of the project. It was an ecological project to document the plants on the river in order to prove that this small piece of land was worth saving. And this is where the image in the middle comes. And all the plants were sourced from that little river. The colors are blackberries. And then there's also some hand-spun nettle threads from the side of the river. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anne-Marie, would you like to be next?
Hello. My name is Anne-Marie Laflamme. I am a designer. I am a lecturer at Concordia as well. I teach in design. And I'm mostly a co-owner and co-designer at Atelier Bay, which is a clothing studio in Montreal since 2009. This is a research project that actually started from a more industrial design approach at the studio in 2021. To try to find a solution to all of the waste that is coming from a manufacturing process of clothing making. So at first we were trying, and we are still trying at the studio to find, concrete solutions to use all of this waste because, the negative parts around clothing create a lot of remnants. And those are resources that extracted a lot from nature and from, human energy. So we're trying to optimize them. We work mostly with cotton and linen. And I decided to bring this research in the context of master research and research creation to have a more a slow process of making and taking outside of like a production or business context. And it has been a really interesting process where the fiber became a collaborator. I've been surprised by the amount of control that I was trying to have on the material, and I tried in this research to let the material have more freedom, and it carries a lot of stories. There's some, end-of-life garments from our collections that are included with those remnants. And this is actually some of the latest work where I'm not only working with the pulp, because the remnants from the clothing that we use are so small that we can't use them in a textile form. They are like, more like long lines of fabric and thin, weird shapes. And there's actually a new technique that is embedded in those pieces that was brought to me by the artist Jessica Balder. I took a sculpture class with her, and she introduced me to rope making, which was kind of perfect for the use of those remnants because they are so long and thin. So I started in parallel with the research to obsessively work with rope making at home and in the metro and everywhere until it was too big to carry. And I didn't know that those projects would kind of reunite. So this is actually new that I'm embedding some of the rope and the textile remnants with the pulp, and it kind of gives a new color, I feel, to the project as it's closely linked to the origin of the fiber as well. So voilà, I'm happy to share that with you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Shall we find Gabrielle? Si tu veux bien nous présenter ton œuvre. Oh, there. So.
Allô, je vais la présenter en français. Donc, je m'appelle Gabrielle Turbide, je suis artiste et étudiante à la maîtrise à l'UQAM. Puis, j'ai une pratique hors sciences, puis je travaille principalement avec le phytoplancton, ce que vous voyez dans le décanteur ici, puis les plantes. Donc, ça, c'est un système inspiré du phénomène d'eutrophisation des lacs. Donc, c'est un phénomène naturel, mais amplifié par les activités humaines où les algues vont proliférer dans un plan d'eau. Donc, c'est un peu ce que j'essaie de recréer dans ce système-là. Donc, ici, c'est le bassin de culture avec une entrée en CO2. Puis, quand ma culture est assez concentrée, je viens chercher les colonies d'algues pour les mettre dans le deuxième décanteur. Dans le fond, c'est comme si je cultivais mon pigment vivant. Puis avec ça, je fais des orthotypes, qui est l'impression ici. Donc, c'est fait avec le soleil, les rayons UV. Puis, ce qui est intéressant avec le plancton, c'est que c'est des impressions... comment dire c'est des impressions qui, dans le fond, le plancton est encore vivant, il est en état de kyste. Puis, si je remets l'impression dans un bassin d'eau salée, la culture va reprendre tranquillement, même après des années de sécheresse, si on veut. Donc, c'est ça, je m'intéresse au cycle de dégénération et régénération de la matière. Merci.
C'est un jeu de variables, c'est assez aléatoire finalement. Le pattern, le motif que tu vas avoir est assez aléatoire et tu laisses un peu le processus naturel. C'est bien, bravo. Merci. Alors ensuite, Amélie. Tu peux parler en anglais ou en français, comme ça t'arrange.
Je suis prête en anglais. So, hi, my name is Amélie Brindamour. I'm a multidisciplinary visual artist. The piece that I'm presenting is part of a larger body of work that is called Raccommoder Nouveaux Assemblages. And the starting point of this body of work is some tests that I made while I was doing a project on biomaterial. So I had an accumulation of tests of mycelium growing on burlap that I discarded, but then at the end of the project, I looked back at it and was like, wow, this is actually kind of interesting, and why don't I try to look at the material and honor its shape instead of trying to make it do something very specifically. So this is one of the pieces there. And the mycelium, for those who don't know, it's the part of the fungi that grows underground that is usually hidden, and that has a hypha thread that spreads in search of food and water, and that you can cultivate on all kinds of substrate, like this. In this example, it's burlap. And for this sculpture, I was interested in this idea of repairing and using what was considered as a residue of a past project. So I continue it with a piece in stone and alabaster that I carved in order to fit perfectly into the mycelium shape. And this piece is made of 3D printing and PLA, which is a corn base that also kind of extend the shape in mycelium in what I consider kind of make it whole. And so I was interested in those different materials with different temporality that are geological, fungi-based, and even plant-based, that have different formation, temporality, also decomposition temporality. And it's inspired by the enormous quantity of waste that is now part of our ecosystem, and because of human activities, and kind of imagine what kind of new shapes and new kinds of relationships that might emerge with time in the future. So I'm inspired in terms of shape with all kinds of symbiosis in nature that are part of fungi, plants, and marine creatures, but I'm also inspired by the fields of biomimicry and speculative design. And finally, this is presented on a support made of rebars that is often kind of what you find in a building that has been falling into ruins. So kind of this idea of these new shapes emerging out of the ruins.
Thank you. It really speaks to that resilience character that symbiosis may bring up. Next, we'll have Fernanda.
Hi, hello. I'm a PhD student at the HUMA program. My piece is called Care Uniform. It's made of scraps, and I dye these scraps using mainly food waste and the dyes that we can get through food waste. And I was thinking about daily reproduction, my daily life. And what I wanted to do this with this garment as a cultural piece, it was also to reflect on labor, and mainly through the second wave of feminism, how invisibilized labor of women is the one that sustains the life of the worker that goes into the factory. So that's why I was thinking about the shapes of the garment we uses, and the notes that it has all around it has to do with care in an expanded notion. And I wanted to think how the debates have updated, in the sense that we not understand care only in household now, but also in all the things that we need to do to sustain our life in different contexts. And well, all the notes are in Spanish because I started this project in Mexico in 2023. I'm still adding notes to the piece through different process of interviews, conversations, some picnics, and also some reading. And also for me, it's very important to understand how pieces also are in itself a process of translation. So in this small book, all the notes are translated to English in a way of like engaging with this context, and also trying to make a bridge to start adding new notes in other languages in relation to where the piece moves. So yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we are going to have Sabina, if you want to say something in French or in English about the paper projects, Paper Weaves project.
Yes, I'll start in English. Hi, my name is Sabina. What I'm presenting here today is actually a collective work of 6th grade students that I'm teaching. I teach art in École Jacques Bizard, which is in Ile Bizard in Montreal. And what we learned in the class is to weave paper to tell a story. This particular project was about what home means to the students. So we have different interpretations. Some chose to bring images that talk about home. Other students decided to go more of the abstract way and incorporate color that would represent home. Sometimes flags about students who are from Haiti or Syria. Others chose to bring their pets in, or they're afraid of food. And so they're both classes, 601 and 602 together. The project was done over about 3-4 weeks. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we can look at would you like to say something about your collaborative work?
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we stand there? Hello everyone, I'm Anindita Chakraborty. I'm Sharmistha. So I'll just talk a little bit briefly about my own practice. I'm an artist, educator, and individual researcher. So my work explores the idea of identity and its politics, and belonging, personal memory. So this is our first collaborative work, and me and Sharmistha, we collaborated in this work together. So here we tried to explore again the idea of home, what home is, and interconnected, which is interconnected with land, nature, again memory and reminiscences, of course, and where river became a very, it plays a very significant role here, which is not dominating here, but it's there, it's sparkling, it's precious, it has its own memory, knowledge, which carries, and it also, the flow, I think it symbolizes the growth and the evolving life. Yeah, we both kind of included all the rivers that we lived personally from our childhood places until here, St. Lawrence River, River Ganges or Hooghly, and our villages where we grew up. So, and we all know, like, all the big civilizations are built next to a river. It has a tremendous impact on human life, later trade, and how we commute, everything. So, and as Ani said, like, it has that potential, like an impression of constantly telling us that in Bengal we say water is life, and we probably believe in many cultures, and we still connect our lived experience with the flow of river and the adaptability with the nature and the place that we live in. And here all the impressions are from the indigo leaf, the eco print, from different flowers, and the tent, which again talks about our temporal connection with the place and how fragile is this connection to be in this world and in the nature that we inhabit, we love, and we love to explore through whatever we do. So this is our expression of home, the idea of home, collaboratively in this work. Yeah.
Thank you. May I speak about what your work evokes? Double micro? Or one is enough? Can I use both? Okay. So before talking about my work or Pramila's work, which is made of felt, a weaving felt piece, the idea of the exhibition and most importantly of the panel was to bring different fiber practices in one single space. So we wanted to show you different insights, offer you insights on what is fibers and what you can do with fibers, and so on, from the idea of the fibers, what you can do, for example, with paper pulp, steel fiber, ceramics, and how the hybridity and in the continuity of one material you can expand to another discipline. This transdisciplinary way of thinking applied to the arts, craft, making, anything is full of potential. So a lot has to do with the decantation of thoughts. That's why it's important to slow down, whether it's summer or winter. The decantation of ideas is where all the magic happens, and where you can take all the time, the best time to reflect, introspect, but also think critically about issues. I am biased, but I am very driven by environmental issues, and in my work it speaks to that. But also, when you merge all these disciplines, I was thinking about a way of bringing all of that in one key word. So the keystone is the idea of Deleuze and Guattari. I'm not going to go in details, but they were talking about striated spaces. So Le Strié et le Lisse, it's one chapter from their amazing book. And the idea is that in different types of textile, you see different types of spaces, and it has to do with migration, how time is encountering in the practices. And the term that struck me is anti-fabric, donc anti-tissu in French for the francophones. And they are talking about felt. So Pramila has made a beautiful weaving, and it's felt, I guess, initially. So would you like to say more about that? Yes.
Before that, I'll just want to shout out for the school children's work, because when this symposium, we were thinking about what to put together and how to curate. And if you see in the morning also, we were talking about these intergenerational ideas and passing down the knowledge. So I'm like, what best way can be to start at the school itself? And maybe paper weaving and thinking through the paper will lead to something else later on in the life. And me and Sabina keep collaborating on different things, and I was just explaining to her, and she's like, oh, it seems like doable, but let's see if kids are also, want to do it. So I'm very happy this happened, and it's here part of all other works. For my works, so there are two of the works are here. One is called Growing. If you have seen in my earlier presentation, I made these big sculptural work, but when I moved here, I don't have enough space, so I have to work with, my work is also kind of becoming modular or more foldable, and those works were made with the pre-consumer waste, so mostly like a factory waste or something which is in bulk coming, but here I was approaching to different studios, like Atelier Bay was one of them. Something was, like there are a couple of them in Winnipeg because I was on a sheep farm. So I was connecting to them, the people, what they are thinking when they're making these conscious decisions to work with the material which are ethically made or locally produced. How does that work? So I was taking their cutting waste, and this is very laborious process where you take the fabric and then you make these strips, so you use them as a yarn, I would say, because the weaving is ingrained part of me, so I can't leave that behind. And I make these weaving panels more like a freehand weaving, so they can move wherever I am. So there is no big fixed loom which I have to carry with me. So I have to think through a process which can carry with me as well. So this is called Growing, and it started in 2024, and I guess it will be keep growing as long as I can gather more stories of conscious makers. So this is about this, and this one, it's called From Another Land. So in 2024, couple of us from this room also, we all went to Iceland for summer field school. So apart from all my other work, I had a day or two to work with needle felting machine, which I had an experience here in Canada on sheep farm in Winnipeg, and they had that needle felting machine, and I was very curious how I can make large surfaces on that. But still, it seems like machine made, which is the last step of it. But to do a lot of carding and do whole weaving first, and then a last step where you use the needle felting machine to bind everything together. So thinking through, when we were all talking about relational idea of material and the land, because we were in that space, I was reflecting with the local sheeps and the material from that space. And I never saw any material, especially sheep, because the place I come from, they have shorter fibers. So they're not that long. And I was very fascinated with this one, that I'm like, wow, this is such a long fiber. And I also learned my first hand spinning over there after leaving it 10 years ago with the cotton. I was so discouraged. I'm like, I can't do spinning. But the Icelandic sheep wool was so surprisingly wonderful. They are long fibers and you can work with it. So this is about my work. We would love to know more about yours.
Yes. Okay. So just to continue and to wrap up, for some of you, I had a conversation with someone earlier, and what they see in my work are roots system, which speaks to the main idea of rhizomic logic that I wanted to bring up with this exhibition. So we're not thinking in binary terms or dualism. Is it art? Is it craft? That shouldn't be even asked. Like, this hierarchy is not even relevant. In terms of this artwork, I wanted to explore what one concept of sublimation, whether it's in chemistry or physics, would be interpreted like through the lens of psychology and in aesthetics. So this piece is called Nuée. It's a sublimation process of a mega fire arriving on a piece of ice or snow landscape. So if you imagine it tilted the other way, it's more figurative, but it's still an abstract landscape that evokes those fumes and the attack of a massive catastrophe on the environment. And I use that as an excuse to dive into larger, broader concept as a metaphysics of time. I want to talk about deep time, to go further away from linear time, which is the time we all know, chronos, tick-tack, tick-tack, and deep time is it's a term from the Greeks. It's called kairos. It's when you have an opening of time. So the membrane of time is cut in the middle, and you have this expanding space. And I think when you write, when you make art, when you're suspending your judgment, but especially your thoughts, you're entering at full speed in the creative process, and you are actually more in conversation with issues that really matter, and not in a production to sell or capitalistic, I guess, comment on appelle ça, mentality. So voilà. I used that piece, where I was asked to put that piece as a backdrop, so I'm very honored of that. Thank you, Pramila. And it's another example of a fiber practice that I'm doing. I'm hand weaving maps. So this is an aerial, so a view from an aircraft or from a satellite of a landscape. Voilà. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much to all the artists that had a little something to say. Is there more? Is there another artist, or are we moving into the workshop? I believe there's one more artist. Let's hear directly from them. Thank you so much. We're going to take 1 second, though, to move into this workshop. As you can see, this is where we will be meeting up. So for those of you who are in the space, please feel free to come to the other side of the screen, get settled. We're going to close up the live stream for this section. We're going to take a quick 5 minutes to just move into this workshop, and then we will see you on the other side. Thank you for joining us.